Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. For those who don't know me, my name is Roger, and this morning I'm going to be speaking with John Bullock. He's a master coach, and also he specializes in optimal performance leader. And that's why he's a leader in that uh, subject, working with companies. But today we're going to be talking about offline versus online. And what I mean by that is that the with the pandemic and the fact that people have been in confinement for such a long time, I think having tools like Zoom and other ways of doing video conferences is absolutely great, I would say, because personally, without that, it would have been the impact on the confinement would have been a lot worse on me personally. And if that pandemic had happened, let's say, at a time when the internet was just coming out, as it were, and we didn't have all these tools, and the confinement would have happened at that time, I would have struggled a lot more than I am now. But personally, I do miss the interaction with people face to face or in a group of people at a place, at a venue.
Well, first of all, Roger, I don't know what time your listeners will be watching this, but certainly it's a morning for us. So I want to wish you good morning. It's great to be here on your channel. And you're right to say that, yes, I'm a master coach and also an optimal performance leader, helping organizations perform at their very best, bringing the teams and making them more cohesive and more productive. But it's an interesting conversation with regards to the tools that we use now to facilitate business. And I think you're right to point out that there's a lot of social inclusion, and that having just gone through this pandemic, if it wasn't available, then it does make you wonder whether people would have responded differently to what happened. So yeah, I definitely would agree with you on that.
Yeah, and then I know personally, I think it would have had, for example, a worth effect on me. Personally, I am able to, I do approximately 5 to 7 Zoom. I attend 5 to 7 Zoom meetings a week, roughly. Yeah, and so I know my week is planned that way to start with. Then I am learning something about YouTube every single day, little things that I need to fill the gaps. And I know there is always something to do. And
It's certainly good to learn new things. There's no doubt about that. And to be stretching yourself and to put yourself out to learn new things. So I've got to say that really is a good thing. And I think they're all good quality things that come about as a consequence to online communications. I think, like anything, though, there's an upside, there's a downside, there's a right way to use it, and there's possibly a wrong way to use it as well. Oh, yeah. And I suppose that's probably the focus of this conversation. And what are the right ways? What are the wrong ways? When should we use it? And when shouldn't we use it? I mean, for instance, I couldn't see this situation taken over from the old traditional English pub, or for you, maybe a French wine bar somewhere. It's just not going to happen, because people need that communication. So even from its most simplest point of view, we can see that socially it's good, and it certainly breaks down distances. I've managed to talk to my brother in Australia on a regular basis because of it. But at the same time, that's great, absolutely. At the same time, though, it's probably, we have a sort of whiskey night. There's a few of us guys get together, we have a bit of a chat and a whiskey. But it's not the same conversation, I think, that we would have if we would all sat around the table in a bar somewhere. Because you can't all speak at the same time. And if you do, normally the way the system works, it sort of blocks one of you out. One comes in, you miss half the conversation, or you're not quite sure what you've heard. And especially if there's a punchline to a joke, Roger, there's nothing worse than listening to a joke and then right at the end, missing the punchline.
So yeah, and then also I think the online versus offline. I think regardless whether there is confinement, I think online is going to become more prominent as time goes by. Yeah, I mean, I would like to imagine what online work is going to be like in 100 years' time. It might be.
Oh, well, it might be completely different now. I mean, to the way technology's moved. I mean, the thought of it being the same and having this interaction, which is amazing in itself, especially in my lifetime, because when I left school, there were we never even had computers in the classroom, you know. So you're absolutely right. The way things have shifted, I do think there's you know, there's a lot to be gained, but there's also an amount to be lost as well. You know, there's an upside and there's a downside. And the upside for me, is the ability to cut down on the communication. But I do wonder, cut down on the journey time for communication. But I do wonder when it comes to developing relationships and the nuances in communication, whether you really can, for once, if I had a product or a service that I wanted to sell, how would you go about selling it online? I still think myself personally, you can maybe share ideas, maybe share values, and listen to the ideas, listen to the product, listen to the service. But I still think there's a great value in meeting somebody one-to-one. So there's a limitation to it. Yeah. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
But I think personally, because we are wired for God knows how long to have interaction with other human beings, and if we lose that touch, I think it's going to have quite a big impact. So it should be a balance between the two, really, offline and online. But what I would like to say is this: sometimes when I phone a company, it doesn't matter who they are. 9 times out of 10, if not more, I speak to a machine. Press 1, press 2, press 3, and it goes on and on and on and on.
Absolutely.
And then after 10 minutes, if you want to speak to one of us or something like that, and by the time most people will put the phone down. Now, what I would say, in my view, so let's say, in my view, a company, obviously, they will still have to use online work because that's the way it's going. However, what I would say, at the point of communication, you know, the first step, personally, I will deal more and I will be inclined to buy more from a company if I have a human voice to start with. Not a robot.
Absolutely, because we're talking about relationships. Yeah. I think one of the things that's sort of really lost is what you call EQ, or emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
For instance, there's certain cues that you can pick up, and those cues are lost in the communication process by using a video such as this. Could be in the way that could have been the way that you walked into the meeting. Could have told me a story, perhaps about your night before, or what you sort of get this feeling and the way to handle it, you know, and that all comes down to body language, which is a big part of emotional intelligence. It's about looking at that and being able to gauge the conversation in a certain way. And I think because those emotional intelligence are lost in this sort of cold, cleansed sort of atmosphere that we're in, we can't pick up those cues. I'll give you a perfect example. The analogy I'll use: how many times you've been in a restaurant, the parents are there, well, the parents are just as bad now, something's going there, but the kids are all like this with the thumbs.
Yes, yeah. Oh,
they're all like this, and they're not communicating. And then when you try and communicate with them, you get these one-syllable responses and answers. Because they're not used to engaging with people. It does make you wonder about the future and how how this is going to be debilitating for kids as they go forwards. And when you look at technology in a way, it's not only changing lives, it's changing the economic and social model that we have. Socially, we're conversing now through this mechanism. Economically, because jobs change in retailers, distribution, everything is changing. Productivity, it's changing. We have robots to do things. They're talking about we'll have driverless car taxis with nobody in them, and there'll be computers that start to take these cars away with them. Really, the jobs in the future, the emotional intelligence tells us that people with emotional intelligence, good communication skills, people that develop these skills are going to be the ones that prosper in the future. And that's why the development of emotional intelligence, and one of the things I really work on within my courses is getting people into flow, whether that's flow means it's that sort of combination with skills and talents meet your challenges, come together where you feel competent. Competent also includes being able to emotionally intelligently understand the situation that you're dealing with, so you can respond correctly without antagonizing people. Those type of skills, those type of skill sets are going to be really important for young people who want to succeed in the future, because they've got to find a way to develop those skills that make the human contact side of things so much more important than the sort of sterile environment.
I agree, because personally, as I said earlier, I would definitely deal with a company or an organization if I can speak to someone. That will be my first. For example, when I go and get petrol for the car, well, I don't have one at the moment because the one I had went to the scrap heap. But when I go and get petrol, even if I can pay at the pump, I don't. I just go inside and I pay to a human being. Once I did not have a choice. I remember in Morecambe, because we got friends in Morecambe and Lancaster, and then I was getting some petrol for the car in Asda, and it was all automated. So I looked first if there was a human being there somewhere. No, there wasn't. Everything was automated. I did not have a choice, so I had to do it at the pump. But otherwise, when I have a choice, I go and speak to somebody, even if I have to queue up.
I think that says something about the emotional contact and the emotional intelligence, because what you're talking about there is that you feel more reassured, dependent on the response you're getting from the individual when it comes to you wanting to part with money. That's essentially what you're...
Yeah, actually, I can give you an example, but I won't name the company because I am not here to what's the word for it, to make allegations. So I dealt recently with a company. Okay, so I got my money back. Fair enough. Okay, I got all of it back. But my concern was the first port of contact was through email or I couldn't find the telephone number. Even the company was abroad, I couldn't find it. And then what I wanted didn't come in my email. So the course itself, well, how is it they're advertising for this when I actually already paid for that? Although that were, so to me, I was not reassured. You're absolutely right. But if I had spoken to somebody like I am doing to you now, more than likely I would have stayed. But I was so unsure about it. I used my 7-day thing to claim all the money back. So I said, no, I'm not waiting. I'm getting it back. I got it back. So that's not a problem. But I'm not naming a company because I'm not here for that. But what I'm trying to say, if they had put somebody to speak to, whether it's through Zoom or telephone or whatever, but something real, yeah, if you know what I mean, then there is a good chance I would have stayed.
Well, Joe, Roger, I think what you're saying has a great deal of value. I don't know. Be interested to see what you think about this. Is this just an age thing? Is this our age that makes us more reluctant to deal and to acquire things online? I know my son does, and but I know he's also had bad experiences as well. And it's been, if it goes right, it's great. If it goes wrong, and here's the risk, it's very hard to put right because you've got no one to talk to.
Yeah,
And you're left with this machine, or maybe a series of emails, maybe some reviews, in which to get a response from this organization, and hopefully that they're going to come back to you. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree with you. I feel far better in the buying process dealing with the person than what I do dealing with making an acquisition, if you like. There's no way, for instance, that I would buy a property online or something like that. You know, I'd want to go and see it, meet people, know who I'm dealing with, and things like that. You know, so maybe it's something about the value, the size of it. You know, I don't know whether those things will change as we move. But one of the things I'm really, really sure of is that on the emotional intelligence side of things, I think people will be people, and I think kids, as they move forward now, they're either going to have to be very skilled, sort of technologically.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Maybe
We'll have to be. Yeah.
Fantastic lawyers, maybe, you know, understanding the law, especially to do with technological law, copyrights and things like that, and maybe medical people, and I think people that with great social skills, and I think that will be the one that ends up trumping them all. And the reason why I think that, Roger, is this. As you know, I was an accountant for 25, property accountant for 25 years. And I used to have a lot of people say to me, John, I don't need an accountant anymore. I've got an app that does it. And I said, really? I said, that's interesting. That. He said, do you feel happy and competent with this app? They go, yeah, it does absolutely everything. And I said, it's great. I said, that's absolutely fantastic. I said, but there's a real flaw to your plan. He said, what do you mean? I said, first of all, I said, all that app's going to do is make sure that you're compliant in those little grey areas that sometimes people work in. I said, it's because it cannot, what an app does is it cannot read into a statute or an article of law and interpret it in such a way that where you may interpret it differently. It's nothing illegal, because I would never advocate that. It's just those small little grey areas. And so the trouble over that, it has to play safe. And in playing safe, that you will end up paying more tax because you trusted this app. I said, but here's the real downside. It stops you from thinking about your business, because you're just saying, I trust all that. The problem's got away, but I no longer have to think about it.
Oh, yeah, you're right there.
And that's the problem. I said, you're trusting it to such a degree that you're saying, I don't have to think about it. I said, and that's the scary bit about what the decision that you're making. I said, the good, they can be quick. I said, but really a good accountant will save you a lot more money, because they'll know how the system works and the things that you can do and things that you shouldn't do. I said, and that's called experience. And that's one thing an app will never give you.
Yeah.
But people don't see that. They don't see that. You know, and the way it can, the way to, in a certain way, it can limit their way to prosper as well. So just by so trusting them, you know, and of course its inability. I don't think that intelligence at this moment in time, when it comes to accounting or maybe even the law, you know, where they can look at the nuances in between things. So a lot of people, I think, before long now, we will be able to probably get an app that will do a will, a probate, an app that will probably even do a divorce. But when it comes down to division of assets and things like that, the app won't deal with it. It'll just deal with it from using a few conventions. But it will not be able to look at the nuances that are in there with an experienced person will bring to bear on it. And I think it's those things, it's that emotional differences where people really specialize. I think that's where the differential will come and where people in the future will make money. Yeah. I don't know what you think about that.
actually what I was going to say, by trusting the online stuff too much, like this app, like you just mentioned, oh, it does everything, I don't have to worry about it. And then if we start thinking like that all the time, I think personally we starting to lose our critical thinking. We just accept it as on face value, isn't it? Oh, it's doing everything for me. I don't have to worry. But yes, actually, you do have to worry. And I think I had a discussion like that with Frankie about critical thinking. For those who don't know, Frankie is a friend of mine. And so about critical thinking, people don't think that's what we were saying. I mean, when I say don't think, I don't want to be, what's the word for it? To be, there is a word, I forgot what it is, but I know, judgmental as it were, but we will losing some of our critical thinking, because then
absolutely,
because the work is being done by apps, it's being by apps or whatever else, and then we just accept it as face value. And I think it can be dangerous, because that means we don't realize, but there will be more and more control over us. And then I think as you mentioned, and the group of people who are going to be good at communication are going to edge out the other. There was a good example of a program I watched on, I only watched about 10 minutes of it, but I remember it quite well. So it actually touched me, and to me it was obvious. In Japan, robotic-wise, they are more advanced than the West, which in a way is good, which in a way is not good. And there was a guy on there, and he was explaining, very intelligent, technology-wise, probably one of the top in his field. He was so well known, but he said, I hardly have any contact with fellow human beings. And hardly any contacts. And so much so that the government was organizing for people to meet, to find a partner. The government to that on board, because they're losing the touch and how.
The rest I had for the connections, their kids, they limit their times on social media.
And that's when my brother does that. He did that with his kids. Yeah,
yes,
and now they're all adults. They all have jobs. One is a doctor, and then the other one is a nurse, and then the other one works in Paris on social media. And he was actually limiting the time. He said, okay, you have whatever, an hour. And maybe when they were younger, obviously now they're adults, they do whatever they want. But the point is, I think he was right to do that. And Bill Gates is right to do that as well with his kids, to limit the time, because we're losing the ability to. So that guy in Japan, and it's like when Gwen was alive, when I said to her, when I saw on that program that in a hotel, at reception is 3 humanoids, 3 robots, humanoids female. And then Gwen said at the time, oh, I will never go in a hotel like that if it happens in this country. And I said to her, I will be the same. I don't want to deal with the humanoids. And then I want to speak to you, or Maria, or Frankie, or John.
Yeah, of course.
Leanne.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And then when you go to a coffee shop, I play table tennis, and there is a guy in the league, table tennis league. I think his daughter lives in Japan, and we're talking about that. And then it's like going to a coffee. It's like going to Costa, for example. I would rather be served by a human being and ask who's next, answer the question. Oh, please, I like this and that. Oh, I'll have a latte, please. Go to the next guy. The guy does. In Japan, a lot of those coffee shops, it's all done by machine. You enter your choice at the beginning, and then it's all done by robot. You go at the end. And I don't go to McDonald's as much now, but they've changed something in there as well. As you go in, they've got this massive suppose or leave, and the people as well who have communication skills. Because
I think
personally, there will be, in my view, I think there will be still a need for people to want some contact with human beings. And if I was going to live, like, let's say another 200 years, for example, And if I found a company where I could speak to human being, I would deal with that company. So if I wanted to get a service from two companies, let's say the same price and all the rest of it, yeah, same quality, but if the one is giving me the possibility to speak to a person over the phone, or even somebody who's emailed me, I'll ring you back, that I'll be fine with that. But otherwise, that's a company I will go to. That will be my choice. Yeah.
I suppose in summary, then it really is when it comes to the communication and the viability of these type of things. They're great for cutting down journey times. They're great for communication, but there's also, we have to recognise, there's a little bit that's lost or diluted in the experience. And really, when it comes to whether it's a business or in relationships, when it comes to whatever it is that you're trying to close or facilitate, there's nothing that really can take away from the human contact, the human engagement, and just the emotional intelligence that comes with having that engagement. Yeah. And as a consequence of having that engagement, the advantage that it gives you.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. So in one or 2 points, personally, I would say, I think there should be a balance for the future, and the companies that are going to edge out, that's my opinion, are okay. We all have to be fluent now these days in using computers and all that, and it's going to be more so in the future, using different systems like Zoom and other platforms. But at the same time, personally, the one who, because there will be a need, because we're still human beings, technology or not, we're still human beings. There's still a need in the back of our mind to interact with people. And unconsciously, some people are going to choose to speak to somebody, and that will definitely be a massive difference as compared to others. Would you agree with that? And then,
absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
So please, guys out there, find the balance. Make sure that you speak to a human being as much as you can, and make the effort not to pay at the phone, but go to the person there. One, it keep the job alive, and 2, it's human interaction. And I don't find it personally particularly interesting to interact with the Pope. So absolutely. So that's the way I see it. Okay. So if you like this type of content, guys out there, please subscribe and like the video. That will really help to sustain my channel. Thank you very much. Bye bye for now.